but maybe go back to the tanks. Nautilus, a very powerful bot lane pick, one of the two S-tier supports, and it will be locked in for Mykix.
Well, I was hopeful. I was hopeful that we would get to see a little bit more of
experimentation.
Yeah, but I think what they were lacking was that form of engage, a way to start off the fights. So now that they have the Nautilus, they have good follow with the likes of the Qiyana ultimate, and they have the Elise cocoon to follow up as well. So I think that now with the Nautilus in there, they have good engage tools to actually start fights. And speaking of engage, Mad Lions are going to round their comp out with the Ornn. Very strong tool. We've been hearing a lot of pros talk about how right now it's one of the safer topside picks because of how well it does in too many matchups, how it can offer that great late game engage. And we saw when we only have to look back to the 5th game between G2 and Fnatic in the finals in Athens, where that Ornn almost won the game for Fnatic with some of the great engages that it was able to find. We'll see if Mad Lions can utilize it to the same effect Fnatic could back then.
And of course, Ornn can get better or worse depending on what type of Summoner's Rift you have, with the map changing as the dragons fall. I want to have a look more holistically at these compositions, Vedius. We talked about the intricacies of each individual matchup, but when you look at these two teams, what do you feel they're trying to do?
Well, what we're seeing a lot right now in the current meta is very aggressive junglers. The camps spawn very quickly, which means that it's just more efficient for junglers to just try and kill things right now. Do as much as you can in the early game and then give your jungle to your laners. They just want to try and make things as much happen as early as possible. So I'm expecting aggression. I'm expecting the junglers to be the main focus point as we're going to be jumping into game very soon.
I think we are just about ready to hand it over to an interview with Mac behind the stage.
Do I look into camera the whole time?
Oh, we're just waiting for a second before we get there. And we'll be ready in just a second. You see Caps' dad there. Now Mac is ready behind stage.
Mac, you are in charge of this new lineup. So tell me about your debut drafting behind them.
Honestly, this team is really easy to draft with. I think we have really flexible players. They're all really able to play any role. None of them have any ego. So they're a super nice group to coach in general, and especially to draft with.
How do you expect they're going to match against this new version of Worlds finalists today, especially on first game?
I think they'll be fine. I mean, these players have a lot of inherent confidence, I think. They're a really, really great bunch. I couldn't be happier with the roster we have. I'm really confident in all of the scouting that we did over the off-season, and I'm confident that they're going to be true to themselves and be confident and be aggressive on stage today, which is what I want them to do against G2.
I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Thank you very much, Mac. Back to you guys on the Rifts.
Thank you very much, Mac and Law. The aggressive style of Mad Lions, coming out of the gate roaring, you might say. Very different to Splice in the past, and I wonder if we'll see that a little bit from this Mad Lions bot lane, because Aphelios has been a champion on the fingertips of every AD carry in the offseason.
I think anybody that has played any League of Legends over the last few months will have experienced some Aphelios and some Senna. Many fans were expecting Aphelios to be permabanned, but he's already in our first game of the LEC, and one of the powerful things about Aphelios is his diversity. He has a weapon for every occasion. He has harass tools, he has lifesteal, he has crowd control, he has damage.
He can beat a bruiser in a 1v1.
He can do it all. But of course he is gated by the fact that he can't have access to all of these weapons at once. It looks like Mad are going for a bit of an invade onto the enemy red buff, which they should be able to steal away, but this is fine for Jankos. He's going to start on his top side jungle, and something that we'll see a lot of from our junglers is, interestingly, they'll start on mainly clearing one side of the map because of the jungle experience changes, but we'll get back to that in a second. With regards to Aphelios, in the early laning phase against the Senna, I actually feel like he can struggle quite a lot. He's outranged. Of course, there is the Calibrum that will help mitigate some of that, but Nautilus has a lot more tools to be aggressive in the early game compared to what the Braum is capable of. Remember, Braum, very much more of a defensive support there to provide peel and safety for the Aphelios, who later into the game will have to try and avoid the Elise and the Qiyana and the Aatrox all looking to dive on top of his face. So I expect Caps and Mykix to have early pressure in this bot, 2 versus 2, and it's something that Carzzy and Kaiser will have to play around, and by going for that early invade, it incentivizes less the Elise to path towards bot. But of course, with Shadow securing both red buffs right now, it means that they have full information of where Jankos is, and he's not going to be able to secure himself a red buff in the early game.
You can see Humanoid already pathing to the bottom side of the lane, knowing that Jankos was up there. Jankos will have a zombie ward as he cleared that out. Early sweeper from the Elise jungle. Not always seen, but can do very well if you want these early ganks. We talked about junglers trying to get a lot of ganks off in the early game to see if they can get themselves and their teammates snowballing.
Now, of course, Jankos, while he's not able to steal away the red buff, he saw Shadow walk across the mid lane, so he knew what Shadow was up to. He has pressure in the bot side, and they should look to rotate up, but they're actually going to stay in the 2 versus 2 for now.
Oh, the smite comes down. Jankos is the one to secure it. Lands the cocoon, and Shadow has to run away for the moment. Should be fine just to escape, but great smite there from Jankos.
Bad flash, though. Not quite
Oh, wait, did
sure.
he flash?
Yeah, he flashed as well.
Okay. To be honest, didn't see that.
I can only assume that he did it because he wanted to get behind the blue to then land a cocoon.
Sure.
But maybe he's rusty. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure. If we get a replay, if we get a look back, then we can talk about it. But yes, Jankos not going to have his flash available. Does successfully secure the blue buff, though.
He does. Shadow now has shadowed his... Oh, okay, I'm going to mess that one up a few times this
Right
way.
there, medic.
Shadow is standing near his bottom lane to make sure that Jankos didn't go for a gank down there. At the moment, odds even in that bottom side. Aphelios and Senna on equal CS. I expect not too much to happen without the jungler intervention. And Jankos is up towards top. Wunder has been beating out Orome. He's about 15 CS up, but not going to be able to get too much more out of it. And that lead in farm is equating to a bit of a CS lead towards, a bit of a gold lead towards G2 as well.
Yeah, so I look back. Blue buff definitely died. He just flashed. I don't know.
That's how you stamp your authority
First
on
game,
the Rift.
he's nervous. You know, new player to the Rift. Jankos not that experienced.
He's not known for his Elise play or anything, you know.
In any case, still very even for the time being. You can see that G2 is starting to build a bit of a CS discrepancy. That's largely coming from the top lane. Yep. We briefly mentioned Orome up in the top side. He's not in a super favorable matchup in the early game, so he's going to fall behind a bit as we see some trading in the bot lane.
Carzzy is going to land here. Mickey does pop the Titan's Wrath, that shield on the Nautilus, keeping him pretty healthy. It is one of the reasons the Nautilus is so good at trading. If you go in, even if you're out of position, you can just pop your shield, and you don't really take too much damage. But with the way pushing in, Carzzy brings out the flamethrower and burns through the minions pretty easily.
So Caps is going to use this opportunity to go back to base, utilize his teleport, and come back to lane with a pickaxe. So he's going to have an item advantage, and this gives G2 an opportunity to look for a play.
Mickey going in with the hook once again. The unbreakable shield has been put up by Kaiser, but the last embrace will lock him in place. And for the time being, both Carzzy and Kaiser should be able to get away. You can see that Glacial Augment doing a lot of work on Caps. Very hard to escape a Senna.
Exactly that. And I'm glad that we were able to highlight Caps' going for that early base, because you can see what he was able to do with that item advantage over Carzzy and Kaiser. No summoner spells were burnt, but by getting an early pickaxe, it gives him a lot of extra attack damage very early on. When you combine that with the Glacial Augment, it becomes very difficult to escape targets. She uses her Q, it helps apply on-hit effects, you then hit them with the auto, and it's just slow after slow, and you just can't get away. And then that easily sets up for her to land her W, and then you're set up for death.
Yeah, especially when you have a Nautilus there as well. Even if you get away from some of the slow, the follow-up slow is coming in. PerkZ has just hit level 6. We'll have that Qiyana ultimate, which can be incredibly impactful, but both Shadow and Kaiser are standing in this mid lane. Now, Humanoid has that ult if he wants to lock PerkZ in the realm of death.
Jankos and Mickey are matching, though. Both of them arriving into the mid lane. Want to be in a position to provide security for PerkZ, but it looks like he's not going to need it.
When I was researching Shadow and when I was talking to some of the Mad Lions coaching staff, they talked about how aggressive he was as a jungler, how much he liked to get in early plays and get in these early skirmishes. We've seen a little bit against Jankos in that blue buff, but so far Shadow hasn't really found an avenue into these lanes.
He doesn't really have a lot of options. Once Kaiser hits level 6, then maybe they have some ability to set up a play, but for the time being, when you're playing with a Mordekaiser, when you're playing with an Ornn, there aren't a lot of early game options available to you. So it doesn't surprise me that he hasn't been able to make anything successful happen just yet, and largely why G2 have been able to build this slight advantage in the early game.
You can see they're about 600 gold ahead at the 7-minute mark. Death's Grasp will pull PerkZ back, but just pops one of those corrupting potion stacks, and he'll be all okay. Now, Jankos has snuck down in towards this bottom lane. He's going to use the sweeper, and did walk over a ward originally that they cleared, so not too surprising for Mad Lions that they just decide to back away. And now we'll see Mickey and Jankos teaming up once again. The jungle support stepping in, trying to get some vision down is something we've seen for the last few years of League of Legends.
Also something Mickey and Jankos did a lot of last year. Orome struggling once again under the pressure, but now Shadow sees his opportunity.
Call of the Forge God. Wunder flashes away from it, and now Wunder perhaps looking to dive the towers, pop the World Ender, but the Ignite is ticking. Orome flashes in, lands the Brittle, and there is the first kill of the decade in the LEC. There's the second! Mad Lions ripping through G2.
They find 2 quick kills. Jankos wants to try and answer back, though.
Jankos coming in, but Carzzy, look at the damage you get! The crescendo just shredding through caps. Jankos coming in with the cocoon, but Kaiser is there to body block. Jankos gonna try and get away, but he can't escape. 3-0 Mad Lions!
And this is a perfect early game for Mad. Just as the game was going slowly, no action, all of a sudden, 3 kills explode onto the Rift, and you can see some of the power of Aphelios, utilizing that crescendo to perfection in order to get himself the DPS he needed to shut down Mykix and get first blood and first kills onto G2.
And we did, I think we all wondered whether G2, with this experimentation, when we talked to PerkZ and Caps backstage, they were saying they're trying stuff out in the spring split, whether it would cost them early on in the split. And I think you see a little bit of that there, Mad Lions acting well to get those kills, but you wonder if G2 are just a little bit sloppy at times.
Well, I think one of the things we need to criticize was Wunder was playing like he had a jungler when he didn't. He needed to have that wave pushed in, or maybe he was over-aggressing in order to get that wave underneath the tower so he could then back off, because it looked like to me that Jankos was investing towards the Drake on the bot side, and if we have a look at the minimap, you can see Elise is being pinged. Mad know where the Elise is, which means that Shadow can easily make this gank without risk of being counter-ganked. Wunder burns his flash to dodge the ultimate. The ultimate from Senna does not come through. Meanwhile, Mykix just oversteps. He gets chased down by Carzzy and Kaiser, and because he had the crescendum, and one of the great things about Severum is how quickly it can stack up the chakrams on your crescendum as well. So you pop that Q, you get a bunch of shurikens available to you, and then you just run your opponent down. Remember, the closer you are, the more chakrams you get coming back to you as well. So well played by the Mad duo. They're able to find 2 kills. They're even able to get that kill onto the jungler, but now G2 on revenge.
One more, there's the concussive blows. Look at the damage coming out of the Glacial Fissure! Get Aphelios! Just get Aphelios!
That was the perfect combination of the crescendum turret with the Calibrum this time round. So the thing about the turret is it applies the effects of your offhand, which means that he had full range. That meant that the turret hit Mykix 2 or 3 times. This gave him a max range crescendum auto, but the action's not over yet, man.
Wunder doesn't have flash, he's going to be knocked up against the wall. The alcove kicks him back, and Shadow should be able to secure the kill pretty easily here. It's 5-0 to Mad Lions, we're only 10 minutes in.
A 2k gold advantage in the back pockets of Mad. These young players, a lot of rookie players, challenging the current European champion.
And it was only 3 minutes ago I said, oh, Mad Lions haven't been able to find the ganks. They haven't been able to find this aggressive playstyle that we heard about from Mac backstage. But already, they've 5 kills now. They've got the Cloud Drake to kick us off. They're looking for the first Rift Herald of the game as well.
See the Essence Reaver now being picked up for Carzzy as well. Really big first item pickup. Once he completes the Runeant's Hurricane, you're going to see some crazy interactions with all of his different guns, and they're utilizing this early pressure to secure themselves the Rift Herald. We can also see that Carzzy has moved up towards the top side. They can use this Rift Herald as well to put more gold into the pocket of Carzzy if they want to. And it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. Wunder left in this 3 versus 1. G2 kind of on the back foot respond.
I mean, although the first Rift Herald does less damage than the second, this tower is still going to get chunked out quite a lot by this charge. And if Wunder stays around for too long, he might be in for a world of hurt. 2 more plates down, that's 4 already in the top lane for Mad Lions. Caps and Mykix were on their way up, but Mad Lions don't overstay. They take what they can get, they back away. And because of it, they now have a 2,800 gold lead, Vedius.
Now, I feel like given the nature of the current game, when you see a lot of Senna and Carzzy, Senna and Aphelios, both AD carries scale very well. So if one of them gets an advantage, obviously you're already putting them in a much more favorable position. The junglers fall off very hard in the mid game, especially depending on how much of an impact they've had. And you can already see Shadow sitting with a level advantage over Jankos, which is going to be difficult to close because of the changes to jungle experience. Catch-up XP is no longer a thing. You now just get flat experience from all of the camps. Obviously, as the game progresses, they give you more and more XP, but because you have the higher level and because you have an advantage, it gets harder to farm. farm because you're going to be challenged more, and everything is going in favor of Mad right now. They have a level advantage between the two top laners, a level advantage between the two mid laners, and so far this early game has gone extremely well for Mad when it was G2 who had the priority in lanes. It was the Aatrox that they could have looked to play around. It was the Senna and the Nautilus that they could have looked to try to take advantage of, but they couldn't get an early Drake. The best they did was able to steal an early blue buff, but outside of that, it's been Mad just punishing these very small oversteps that we're seeing from G2.
And when 4 of the top 5 gold scores in the game all belong to one team, you know you are suffering here as G2. Next dragon on the cards is an Ocean in a minute and a half. That means we'll either have an Infernal Rift or a Mountain Rift. I know which one of the two I prefer. Infernal is a lot more fun, I've got to say. Mountain doesn't give you, that extra burn damage if you collect the souls. So.
And I will say that Mountain could be quite good for Mad as well, because it does give you bonus resistances. And that shield that you do get, I do think is the weakest soul of all 4 of them. But still, when you have champions like an Ornn and a Braum that benefit a lot from tanky stats, you then make them tankier, and you put a shield on top of them, that front line becomes almost impossible to get through.
It looks like G2 have given up the ghost really on this top lane tower. They're playing with 3 people down towards that bottom side. PerkZ and Jankos trying to double up and see if they could get a gank onto Orome, but Orome, one of the few Mad Lions players with experience on the LEC stage. However, here comes PerkZ trying to catch our Humanoid. That's going to pull him back. He's in the realm of death right now. PerkZ flashes away. Humanoid looking to get away as well, but the Cocoon's going to land onto Shadow towards the top side. Humanoid low down towards the bottom. Shadow able to get away. Humanoid should be done for. Healing up for an absolute massive amount of health, but in the end, Caps gets G2's first kill of the LEC in 2020.
So G2 finally find a pick onto Humanoid. He did have his flash, but he didn't see the point in using it, given that Jankos was covering the river as well. Almost gets the kill onto PerkZ, forced to burn both of his summoner spells, showcasing some of the power that Mordekaiser does have. But you can see in this situation, Humanoid thinks he's safe because Shadow is there, but he's not. There are 4 members of G2 collapsing. He is standing there, overextending, trying to clear this control ward, which he's very quickly punished for. And it was a little unfortunate, the synergy between Mickey and PerkZ. Mickey actually pulls him out of the ultimate from PerkZ. You can see that support mid duo perhaps not building that same synergy that they had in the bot lane.
When they were both in bot lane together, they were able to do it quite well, but we'll see now whether that first kill holds a few more for G2 or whether Mad Lions can keep up the tempo, keep up the pace of this game, because that Ocean Dragon is now on the Rift and they have great team fighting tools. You look at it, you've got an Ornn, you've got Aphelios, you've got the Lee Kick, very good at disrupting these fights, and Mad Lions will take the second dragon of the game, and as you say, it is an Infernal Rift that is on its way for us here, Betty. As you can see it blazing its way up, and
oh, look at the top lane. We see a bit of action happening. The flash is going to be used by Humanoid.
Humanoid's just caught under the tower. Dawning Shadow comes out. There's nothing you can do about that. G2 with a good reaction play, knowing that Mad Lions were down towards the bottom side.
They need to be proactive to get back into this game. Of course, Mad not slowing down. They will answer by pushing in the mid tower and the bot. Here comes Wunder on the flank.
Wunder's on the side, but Carzzy flashes forward, and now this is where you see the power of Aphelios. Still doing damage. Wunder manages to track him down, and it gets away. Kaiser should be able to dodge back towards Shadow here. Well played by Wunder to get out of that one alive.
Good flank from Wunder, doing what he can to make up for the early deficit that he generated for G2, and they keep their mid tower alive. They'll get a bit more gold onto PerkZ. They'll get a big shutdown onto Carzzy, burn both of his summoner spells, and they relieve some of the pressure that Matt has been putting down in this early game.
And you can see Shadow, this is just way too far forward. Depth Charge's going to connect, and Jankos actually kicked that great flash from Shadow. Orome's going to open up with the Call of the Forge God, and now Mickey trying to get away. Kaiser's still stepping forward. They're going to knock him up. There's the concussive blows for a successive stun, and Shadow is on a killing spree here.
So Mad are able to turn that pick around. Should have been Shadow losing his life, but Jankos doesn't quite have the damage to get the execute onto Shadow. Hasn't yet spent his gold, which means that he's able to get away with his life, and Mad even turn it around into a kill. We expected a bit of a bloodthirsty early game.
I'm so happy, Vedius.
I was expecting it more to come from the junglers, but it's actually come from a lot from the laners, especially down the bot side of the map, and of course Shadow finding some successful ganks up towards the top side. We're going to have another look back at this replay. Shadow, as you mentioned, Medic, very overextended. He thinks he has full control over this bot side of the map because, hey, I just saw Aatrox reset. Hey, I have a bot wave pushing in. I should be fine. And if it wasn't for Kaiser and Orome coming in to save the day, he may well have lost his life. So great stuff there from the support and top laner to be able to offer that assistance. But definitely a dangerous play for Shadow to make.
But you can see as well the Mad Lions CC chain. If you do get caught out by yourself as a G2 player, you're going to have the Call of the Forge God knocking you up. You're then going to have the Orome charging in if you are against a bit of terrain, and you have the concussive blows coming out from the Ornn. So it's very hard to get away if you are ever out of place. Now, let's have a quick look across where these two teams are in terms of items. Manamune and Duskblade complete on caps. The Essence Reaver building in towards the Infinity, as you would assume, on Carzzy with that BS Sword and Pickaxe, but Mad Lions, oh, this is the second Rift Herald. They're going for that. For some reason, I thought Baron was up, but of course it's not. It's only 18 minutes in. Second Rift Herald of the game, perhaps going to go across to Shadow.
Yeah, man, it happens. Don't worry. Shadow, though, is solo doing this. PerkZ is going to spot him out.
Shadow jumps across the wall, manages to escape, can jump back in. There's the Sonic Wave. Jankos is around the corner. Kaiser is just trying to act as a bouncer. Jankos gets it in the smite fight, then goes up in the repel. Jumps onto Shadow, but Jankos is double flashes to make sure he picks up the Rift Herald, and he will be able to use that as soon as he respawns.
So, I think this is a pretty worthwhile trade for G2 overall. Yes, it does cost Jankos his flash, but they can use that Rift Herald to set up for a mid lane tower, because they're going to secure the bot lane tower. I feel like G2 Siege, not the strongest. They have a melee mid laner, and they have an AD carry that has a set attack speed.
Yep.
While her range is long, she doesn't take objectives very quickly, and I also feel that when you enter the mid game, she kind of enters this weak state where she doesn't. She's kind of like the Caitlyn of old, you know, where she kind of sits in this weird spot where she's not super strong, but she's also not super weak either. On two items, I feel Aphelios is much stronger. You can see that he's now completed the Infinity Edge, so G2 want to be careful about how they play this mid game, because going for team fights right now, probably not the best thing for them. They should look for picks, look for opportunities to catch Mad out, and utilize the mobility of this Elise and the Qiyana to catch your opposition when they least expect it.
And picks always come from vision. You can see G2 have littered wards around that top side river. They're trying to get some down towards this bottom side as well. Orome, currently level 12, on his way to level 13, and of course he will be able to upgrade that Infinity Edge into a Molten Edge at level 13, which makes Carzzy even stronger in those mid-game fights. 32nd on the Inferno. You have to think Mad Lions will want to go for it.
Now, one of the cool things about the Infernal Drakes, and when it opens up a lot more of the map, it makes it easier to contest objectives because there's just less terrain. Makes a lot. Oh, PerkZ
flashes in, gets a double knock-up, but Carzzy's done! It was a little bit of a stutter step there by PerkZ, but he was able to get the kill, and here comes Wunder from the side. Humanoid in the realm of death will be done for pretty soon. PerkZ secures it. G2 strike back in the mid lane.
PerkZ showcasing that he still knows how to play mid lane. He can still play these assassin champions, and he finds a good pick there onto Carzzy. He still did not have his flash from that earlier play. Remember when the flank happened from Wunder? Due to the unavailable flash that made that play happen, and G2 have now been able to claw this gold difference back in their favor. They can now rotate back down, go for the Infernal, and Infernals are the only Drake that's going to spawn now, Medic.
Yep.
That means that if G2 secure the next 4, they're going to get a pretty hefty damage buff on top of potentially the Infernal Dragon Soul.
Of course, Infernal giving you percentage AD and AP. Mad Lions going to try and contest this. The Dragon does go down. Here comes the Call of the Forge God, looking for Jankos down towards the bottom side. Caps is there as well. Shadow has the flank. It's a 3v4 at the moment, but here is Humanoid. Teleported in, rips back Mickey into the middle of the fight, and Jankos and Caps are running for the hills up towards the top. A kill over to Aphelios. It's Aphelios, and he's gone. He's not there anymore. Caps splashes across the wall to get away from Orome, but the Sonic Wave connects, and you have to feel Shadow will be on the chase as soon as he has just that little bit more energy. But there's the last embrace.
Ooh, nice
Caps locks him up, dodges away from the Glacial Fissure, and Mad Lions will give up the chase now.
Well, props to Caps being able to get out of that situation. I thought he was done, but he ends up surviving. Here we see PerkZ.
He's got stealth. He's going to grab the grass as well, so he is able to get away. G2 have been able to close that gold gap that was developing here, Vedius. There's only about 200 gold between these two teams, and Wunder's trying to even out just a little bit more. The Infernal Chariots will pull back Humanoid. The Death Realm is
trapped
there,
in here with who, Medic?
Mickey. And Wunder's still on the chase. Neither of them really doing too much to the other, but there is the Dawning Shadow, and there goes Humanoid. Another kill to Wunder. He's got 2 on the board.
And you're seeing some big mistakes from Humanoid. The only member of this squad that stuck around from last year to this year is the one that's consistently getting caught out. Let's look at this play from PerkZ. Flashes over, hesitates for a few seconds. Not sure why that happened, but regardless, still able to find the kill onto Carzzy. big burst damage coming out from both Senna and Qiyana, and they just blow him away. Humanoid then shortly follows, and they convert this very quickly into a big mid lane tower and an Infernal Drake. But Mad feel like they can chase this one down. They see G2 split up. They know that Qiyana's top without teleport. They think that in this situation, with no ultimates available for G2 and a flanking Humanoid, they can make this play happen.
They managed to catch out Mickey, and you can see here, you know what Carzzy's thinking. He's thinking free double, but Jankos lands the cocoon, and Carzzy just gets melted.
Gets absolutely melted.
Right, Caps does have a 2-level advantage over Carzzy
Yes,
now as well. Usually a level we equate to about 600 gold worth of stats, so that's about 1,000 gold lead just in terms of levels.
So, that lull that I was talking about for Senna, gone now. She's
no
fully
longer in the
stacked
lull
up.
state.
Yeah, the Mana Mune is now finished, and she is very, very strong. She also has a stopwatch available to her. Often we do see, might see another fight right now.
Yeah, Wunder stepping forward. The concussive blows, 2 procs in. There's the third. Mickey coming from the side as well. Call of the Forge God comes out. It's going to land on Mickey and Caps. Maybe the chase is going to continue. Carzzy with a Moonlight Vigil lands it from long range, but it's only the Severum. He just gains health from that. Will be able to take out Mickey, but not able to chase any further.
So it looked like G2 were the ones to initiate on that fight, but they initiated onto a Braum. You're seeing why this champion has risen in priority in the current meta, and it's because he's a difficult champion to engage onto, Medic. You're a big support main, you know that if you're the one getting jumped on, you're like, yeah, I'm fine with this. I'm holding a big shield, I can defend my team, and I feel like G2 got baited into an overextended fight there that ended up in the death of their support.
There's just such good follow-up as well for Mad Lions with the Call of the Forge God, with Carzzy being able to chase people down, and Shadow has done a very good job of positioning in some of these fights as well.
So let's actually watch Carzzy here, and notice how he starts with the Q, he builds up chakrams, and then he swaps over to the Crescendo and throws the turret down. And you can see how much space he's able to build. He puts the Braum in front of him, he plays very safe, and now he's built up all these chakrams that he can use to run down targets, and he gets all this DPS from. So good awareness there from Carzzy to utilize the combination that he had to get the damage that he needed.
And this is the thing with Aphelios as well, it's how you play a fight is so dependent on which guns you have up, because you could have Calibrum up and then you're looking for the long range snipes on people, you could have Severum up and then you're looking for more of that lifesteal, dodge in and out of the fight, as we say. PerkZ here has the Edge of Night with that Dustblade completed as well, building up his lethality, but Mad Lions as a 5-man squad are all clumped up on this top side of the map. You can see Wunder's down bot. Orome does have teleport if he wants to match, but I'm not sure if he wins that 1v1 anymore.
Well, I think Orome just wouldn't die.
Okay.
I think he would just hold the matchup, but I don't think he needs to be there right now. They're more focused on trying to force a fight around Baron. They feel strong. Carzzy has the upgraded Infinity Edge to the Molten Edge, and putting herself in this choke point against an Ornn.
Here we go.
It's exactly what Mad wants. So Mickey going to be the target to face check.
Oh, they haven't even started Baron, but G2 don't know that. Now PerkZ has stepped forward, they will realize.
Wunder's walked down. Caps is the one to use his teleport. Not a massive deal for the side of G2.
Caps has just completed his Yumu's Ghostblade as well, so will
okay.
have quite a lot more damage in this fight than he had previously. Remember, however, there is also the Infernal Drake about to spawn, and if Mad get it, they're setting that ticking clock on the 4th dragon of the game.
It's the soul of the dragon, very, very strong. Even though Mountain I consider one of the weaker ones, still very valuable to have. And
it is Infernal in this game, so it's quite strong.
It is the Infernal as well, so it gives you a lot of extra damage. Hit the flank from PerkZ.
Hobbs, the supreme display of talent, but only lands on Humanoid, and now the fight is really going to begin. The Dawning Shadow coming out, there's the Call of the Forge God. Carzzy and Kaiser fighting up towards the top side, Caps putting down a lot of damage. Last Embrace is not going to land, PerkZ still on the flank position. G2 trying to pincer in on Mad Lions here, trying to catch them like cats in a trap. A Humanoid going forward, the Infernal Chain's going to come out, but Jankos is already down. Carzzy's going to have to charge on him. There was one down as well as Humanoid is fallen. 4v4, Wunder going forward. G2 have felt the pain of an Aatrox in this river before, and they're trying to put it down on Mad Lions. PerkZ jumping up to the back line. Carzzy's still alive, but now he's shut down. It's Caps to take it. He gets 1, he gets 2, and he's looking for more. PerkZ on the chase takes another, and G2 will wipe Mad Lions in the river.
Fantastic patience from PerkZ. He was waiting for that moment to kill Carzzy. He knows that with Carzzy gone, the fight is G2's, and he does it beautifully. When we get the replay up, I just want to follow PerkZ and how he maneuvers around the fight, how he keeps Carzzy distracted, because again, he knows that if he takes the Aphelios out, then it's game, set, and match for G2.
And now G2 just turn their eyes straight towards the Baron. Double Infernal in their pocket. This Baron won't go down too quickly. We talked about it earlier. Caps with that set auto-attack speed isn't going to do it too quickly. And here's the TP. Humanoid hasn't had the best of games. Only did 500 damage in the last fight, but he's looking for Mickey. Jumps in, Death Realm onto PerkZ. Humanoid might just die straight away. He's got the shield though, and PerkZ is taken down. The Baron has fallen. Humanoid still looking for the kill. Gets one. That's one Baron down. Orome coming in as well. You can see Carzzy's on the chase, but Orome runs away, and G2 will escape. You have to feel here with 4 Baron buffs.
They just want to disengage from this point. They're going to have to give up the blue, but that's fine. They walk away with a 4K gold lead and a Baron buff. G2 Esports showcasing that they're still very good at team fighting. And again, thank you, observers. Focus here on PerkZ. Use the ultimate early, doesn't land it onto Carzzy. But notice how he's just drawing the attention of the AD carries while the fight is happening on the other side. G2 is just buying time. They're just waiting. PerkZ keeping his distance. Mad know exactly where he is. But now look at how he's going to utilize his invisibility along with the stun in order to try and lock down the AD carry. Carzzy gets knocked up. He uses the heal early. This is the moment where he's waiting. Okay, the moment Carzzy overextends, I'm going to go for the stun. Instant pop. With him out of the fight, that is immediate cleanup for the rest of G2. And just props to PerkZ. A lot of debate, a lot of questions around him coming back into the mid lane. And he showcases he's still very talented. He still understands what his role is, what he needs to do, and that is how you carry a team.
And Cap's having a stellar game on the Senna as well. We wondered how his mechanical prowess would translate into the bottom lane role. Both in lane, Mickey perhaps overextended a couple of times, but as a bot lane through these mid-game fights, they've had great performance.
And of course, Jankos on Elise, never going to have it again. Back to Braum duty he goes.
Sejuani or Braum? That's
Sejuani or Braum. Definitely can't let him have these early game junglers. But in any case, G2 looking very strong right now. They fell behind early. They made a lot of big mistakes. They ended up getting punished. Mad now starting to group up. They want to try and force fights.
Kaiser on the front line, pops the Unbreakable. Orome looking for the call of the Forge Guard. Doesn't land on anyone. Shadow! Wunder's on a rampage. Carzzy trying to do what he can with the Moonlight Vigil. He shut down Wunder, but there's the stun from the side. PerkZ once again finds the flag. Orome chased out by Jankos. He sinks in his fangs and gets another kill. Humanoid comes out of the realm of death just to go back to the fountain. And G2 are just dismantling Mad Lions.
The mid AD carry duo are doing some serious damage in these fights. Caps, his positioning is flawless. He's taking advantage of his range. He is one-shotting these carries, and there is little that Mad can do. They have put up a valiant fight. They have been able to find some great opportunities, and Carzzy, I feel like he showcased a lot of great things in this first game, but what can you do when people are diving on top of you? Like, Braum got obliterated by this Senna ultimate before he could really offer much to his team, and now G2, they're on the Nexus. They're looking to end the game.
Kaiser trying to act as one final stand, but he's not going to be able to do too much. G2, what are you going to do when they come for you? Well, right now it looks like Mad Lions are just crumbling underneath the pressure. 6,000 gold lead for G2. They take both the Nexus towers, but they will not take the Nexus quite yet.
Wow. Great stuff coming out from G2. Mad, they've done what they can. They're grouping up as a 5 because they recognize that they can't win on a side lane. They have to try and utilize that team fighting power, but the only way that's going to work is if you keep Carzzy alive. And in every single fight so far, G2 recognize, okay, kill Carzzy, win the fight. And they've been doing a great job of it every single fight.
They really have. You have to feel it's just a matter of time before G2 can close this one out. A start to 2020 with winning ways, as expected from them after they had such a strong performance in 2019. Remember, back-to-back LEC champions, MSI champions, Worlds finalists. The only thing they didn't get was that championship in the end, but trying to start out a new decade with another win on the board. Wunder stepping forward, Orome going to get ripped back with it. Oh, actually uses the Bella's Breath to get away. Kaiser, though, still on the front line. Locked up with the last in breath. Mickey perhaps a little bit overextended here. He's going to fall first, but the call of the Fortune coming out. Wunder pops the stopwatch to get away from it. Perhaps G2 have delved a little bit too greedily. The last embrace will stun up Orome for the moment, and Mad Lions just able to defend their Nexus, but not really much else.
Yeah, definitely a greedy play from G2. Infernal is spawning in 15 seconds. PerkZ. Not sure what he was looking for there. Infernal is spawning in, well, 10 seconds now, and Baron is spawning in a minute and a half, and there are obviously 2 sideways that they could look to play around. G2 had all those options. Instead, they just ran it down mid, and they tried to end the game. Right now, they have their eyes set on Shadow.
And Shadow had his eyes set on the Gromp. Good flash away. Dawning Shadow will not connect. Only the center part of that, of course, does damage to your opponents. But an AD carry with a cross-map ultimate is always an AD carry that has to be feared. And this will be the 3rd Infernal, as you said, Vedius. After losing the first 2 dragons, G2 have picked up every one since, and are just 1 away from that soul.
They're just 1 away from the soul, and it's one of those things where there's a lot of debate right now around, do you just give up the first 2 drakes and then play for the next 4? This is one of the advantages, because you can just keep stacking up that Infernal Drake now, because it's the only dragon that will spawn for the rest of the game, and they now have 12% additional attack damage and ability power. Now, admittedly, it's a lot less than it used to be.
Yeah, it used to be
because
they'd have 24%.
Yeah, exactly. No, you'd actually have 32.
No, because they have 3.
Yeah.
So 3 times 8. It's 20.
Oh, okay. Your math is better than mine. But what it would... but it's the soul that they're after,
Yes.
right? Of course, there is the 4th one that will help you a lot. That will put you up to 16%, but it's the soul where a lot of your additional damage comes from. And I don't think they need to wait for it. The Baron is going to be spawning in about 25 seconds. Very rarely do you actually see like 6 drakes go down in a game. The big last hurrah for Mad will be, can they contest this this Baron?
And the thing is, you do have a 4-item Aphelios on your team. Like,
Oh, for sure, it's
if he hits a Moonlight Vigil with Infernum on, people are going to get melted. This is going to get burnt down. You've got the Call of the Forge God. You have Elise jumping in and kicking people around. Humanoid doesn't really have too much damage yet, but now this is a great flank position. Kaiser's going to step forward. But the Curse of the Black Mist doing a lot of work here. Wunder trying to get in. PerkZ he's gone. Goodbye. Wave goodbye to any hopes of winning this team fight as well, Mad Lions. Because you may have stuck together like a pride, but there was no pride in the way that fight went. G2 just shred through them once again. Jankos going to chase down Orome. Orome, of course, has the exhaust from the Unsealed Spellbook, but Caps is on his way as well. Extra movement speed from that Curse of the Black Mist, and Orome is going nowhere. Both PerkZ and Wunder are pushing in the base. G2 looking for kills, as they always have done, and with the Nexus in their sights, G2 will record the first win of the LEC here in 2020. They had winning ways in 2019, and I'm sure they'll want to continue it. And they had Phantom Diving ways last year as well. There aren't even the minions going to take this. In the end, Wunder secures it. G2 1-0 in the LEC.
Definitely not a clean game. You can see the head shaking from Grabs. He's a little annoyed with his player's performance. Going down 0-5 within the first 10 minutes, not the way you want to start your split, but they did bounce back well, and you've got to give props to the way in which G2 team fought. Mad, I think, showcasing some of their inexperience as the game progressed. Once they had that advantage, they did get caught out a couple of times. We saw Humanoid making some pretty big mistakes where he was giving over his life, that a lot of the fight setups were not optimal for Mad, and I felt like there was one of those situations where G2 were able to take advantage of their long history, their big advantage in terms of experience.
Yeah, the experience of the
punishing
players.
these small windows. It's something that you come to experience playing against a team like G2 a lot, where even the smallest mistake can open a massive wound.
But I think if you look on the other side of it, Mad Lions had a very good early game. You know, at that 10-minute mark, they were 5-0 up. They had about 1,000 gold lead. And for a team with 4 rookies in it, you can take a lot of hope from that coming in to the rest of the split. Of course, it's a very tough start for them. First game against the reigning champions. But if you're a Mad Lions fan, I wouldn't be too dismayed by this performance.
Yeah, I think that they showed some promising things. It was cool seeing what Carzzy could do on the Aphelios first game. You can see that if you misstep against this champion, it can do a lot of damage. The cool combos that were available, there was Severum plus the Crescendum, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed seeing it. I hope we get to see more throughout the day.
So do I.